We're going to get rocking and rolling, guys. I think we are live now on YouTube. So if everyone, if you're on YouTube, just throw me a comment. Make sure you guys can hear me, and we're going to get rocking and rolling. We've got people already on it. Fantastic. Okay, welcome everyone to the Investors Performance Group. So for those of you guys who are new, give us a show of hands if you're first time. A couple people. Awesome. Well, we always appreciate having you guys come out. We hope you guys gain a lot from it. We got some interesting stories today, which I'm excited for you guys to hear about. But we are going to kick things off into high gear right away with the market update. But before we do that, I'm just going to make sure that's working. There we go. All right, so just quickly introduce ourselves. My name is Cameron Manning. I'm the Director of Sales with the Kelly Fry team, and IPG is brought to you by Kelly Fry team. Everyone can see the screen well enough. Can I turn it for you guys a bit more? There we go. It's probably better. Kelly Fry team is a full-service real estate investment team. We're here to help support you guys on your real estate journeys. If you need anything from mortgage brokers to accountants to lawyers to property managers, we have everything at our disposal for you guys, and of course can help you guys find the property. Today, our agenda, we've got the market update. What on earth is going on in the market? And the numbers might surprise you a little bit. They definitely did me as I was looking through it. Then we have our investor spotlight with Peter St. James, who's actually in Quebec, who's going to be joining us today. So he's going to be live streaming here soon. I see he's online right now, so that is excellent. Then we're going to go through our Tales from the Trenches. This is a segment that we do every single month. It's one of our more popular segments. And today we've got Debbie Balfour joining us, sharing a tale that unfortunately she had to endure, but there's a lot of lessons to be learned from it. And then finally, we're going to kick things off, finish things off with our keynote speaker, Cheri Crause, who's joining us from Victoria tonight. So we got two people zooming in, so that's pretty cool. She's going to talk about how she literally built her portfolio from the ground up. And when I mean that, it's not a metaphor. She literally built it from the ground up with purpose-built rentals. And we'll finish things off with some hot deals and wrap it up for the night. So let's talk about the market. But before we do that, if you guys want to engage with the event, feel free to take photos, take videos, tag us on social media using @KellyFryTeam. All right, market update. Housing market sales persist with second slowest July sales in a decade. Things have definitely changed in the market. This summer has been quite slow. And in fact, we did anticipate things might pick up with the interest rates coming down. And it's been a little bit of the opposite. And we're going to talk about why that is. So we're going to first take a look at the supply side of things. Supply being the inventory, the number of listings that are on the market. Now, as we can see here with this graph, from last summer, we had about 10,374 listings in the Greater Vancouver area, 5,678 in the Fraser Valley, and a little over 1,100 in Chilliwack. And as you can see, especially in the Fraser Valley and the Greater Vancouver area, we have seen a huge spike in inventory. So even though we've seen rates coming down, the more inventory we're gaining, we're not absorbing it as fast as we used to. There's still not enough buyers that are coming back to the market to capture that. So when you have an increase in supply, and I'm going to show you the demand in a second, that's lower, what starts to happen with prices? We start to see it kind of trend downwards, and you're going to see that in a second, because when we look at the sales here, sales are actually trending downwards right now as we head through the spring into the summer here. In fact, you can see that the sales this summer are actually slightly lower in a lot of the regards to last summer. So in fact, we're still selling the same amount as we did. I mean, really, it's a difference of about 100 sales in each category. But the problem is the fact that we have over 4,000 more listings in one category than we did last year. So again, you're not selling as much. There's more choice for buyers. When there's more choice, sale prices start to come down, as we can see here in the next graph. Yeah, so we're trending downwards. We've actually had a couple of months now where the prices are coming down. But when we look at that, while it might sound doom and gloom, what, as an investor, when we think as an investor, what does that actually create for us? Opportunity, right? So as we see the inventory start to increase, well, that means that there's going to be more and more opportunity for investors to be able to get into the market. You're not going to have to go and compete like we did in 2020, 2021, part of 2022, where we're running our numbers and someone comes in and we can only bid a certain amount and someone blows us out of the water with $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, right? Now we can negotiate. You remember the term is you make your money on the buy. Well, now's the time when you can actually negotiate those deals in. And in fact, a great deal I just got for one of my clients in downtown Vancouver. This is a 1-bedroom condo. It was listed at $940, and the most recent sale a month prior was $930. We picked it up for $888,000. So that's a nice discount on that property that they're going to gain in the future when they decide to sell that property. And of course, hopefully the market rebounds. So we're going to break it down a little bit. We tend to start out further east because that's where most of the investors are out there buying, just from a cash flow perspective and a price. I mean, obviously, we're not going to be buying in and around Vancouver West area if we're paying $5, $6, $7 million unless we're developing, right? Just for detail for cash flow. But as we can see here, the property values are starting to show that decline, especially in the detached market. Chilliwack's down about 4%. Listings are actually down slightly, so that might help in the coming months, but we'll have to monitor that. Days on market are growing. Townhouses are flat, but the listings, as we can see, have risen quite a bit over last year's numbers. Days on market almost doubled. And then we've got still an increase in the condos in the Chilliwack market. Again, there's a lot more affordability in the condo market still. So we're seeing certain segments where that's still moving. But again, inventory is up 35.8%. So we're going to have to monitor what that impact is going to be if that number keeps going up. Abbotsford, still slightly up over last year. Average price of a detached at 1.258. Listings are up slightly at 11%. Townhouses still up, but condos did take a bit of a hit year over year, in this case down 5.6%. But you can see here a significant increase in this doesn't work on the screen, in the total listings that are hitting the market here. Again, there's 270 listings on the market in the Abbotsford area. Mission, major hit in the detached market, down 13.1%. So to me, that screams opportunity. Wait another month or so and start locking down properties. Total listings are up over 400 right now, up 17.2%. Townhouses and condos, still not a ton of inventory in that market. It's very detached heavy, but compared to the last couple of years when I used to do these, the fact that we have 38 listings and that's down 38%, pretty incredible. We've seen the densification happening in that market now, whereas when I used to do these about 2 years ago, that number used to be 3 or 4 listings. And that used to be a lot for that market. So things are definitely changing in that market. And I think we're going to continue to see the average price of condos start to rise over time as we continue to see beautiful new developments hitting the market. Langley down slightly, just back under the 1.7 mark. It was over 1.7 for a while. Only down 3% though. Excuse me, significant increase in the listings though, 26.2%. Huge though in the attached market, 66% increase in the townhouses and 50.2%. So we're already starting to see the impact on the condos going down slightly. So you're seeing it depending on the market segment. And this is an important point, I guess I should make as well. We're having this conversation internally in our office all the time. When people ask us, well, how's the market? It's literally segmented. Like I could say, well, condos in this area that are 1 bedrooms are moving, but 2 bedrooms aren't. Detached homes over here are moving that are older, but newer products not moving. It's literally dependent upon the actual product type and the area that it's in. So that's why you're seeing all the numbers across the board are vastly different. Maple Ridge, yep. Yes. It's a blend of everything.
I know the sales for development stuff going.
Yeah, it's a blend of everything. If it's a development, like a new development, they don't show in these stats because they're off market technically. These are MLS based. This is where we're driving that. Yeah, because they don't report their numbers technically. So Maple Ridge, we're still showing up across the board, not as strong in the townhouses, but again, we're seeing significant increases in the inventory. So we'll probably see that start to change if that trend continues. Surrey, big hit on the detached at 14.9% change. Bit of a jump on the inventory there as well. Same across the board, down across the board actually. Surrey is probably being hit the most. And Vancouver, for the first time in a long time, and it's just mostly due to the fact that we've got increases in the inventory, we're showing some negatives. even through COVID, even through the interest rate rises, we still were seeing some steady growth in the Vancouver market. And suddenly now, because the inventory spike, we're starting to see that start to go down. It really, from that perspective, it really shows the impact that supply has versus demand, right? Because we've had the interest rates go up crazy and we still saw growth in the Vancouver market. So it really boils down to that concept of basic economics. All right, so that's the quick market update. That's what's going on in the market. In my opinion, some good opportunities. Yep.
So what are you, in the marketplace, what are you sensing is the buyer sentiment?
Well, I think
the very moment, and you think it's going to move one way or the other?
Yeah, I agree. It's good. I mean, we're starting to see more buyers coming to the market. I've worked with more first-time home buyers in the last 2 months than I have in 2 years. So first-time home buyers are coming back to the market. Now, if they start coming back to the market in droves, we know that we're going to start to absorb some of that inventory. So use that as a metrics to start taking some action in the market, right? All right, with that being said, we're going to turn it over to our next segment. And again, Peter is joining us all the way from Quebec. So I'm going to bring him up on the stage. We're going to stop that and bring Peter. Peter, welcome to the stage.
Thank you.
All right, and what I'm going to do here for everyone else, because they can't see you on my big screen, we're going to move you over here, and then they'll be able to see you. There we go, and full screen. There we go. All right, Peter. So I'm going to bring Kelly up. Kelly is going to be doing some interview with Peter. This is a segment we started doing this year where we interview some of our clients, get some of their experience, what's going on in their investing career, and really just try to inspire you guys that it doesn't always have to be the big investors that we bring out. Sometimes it's the small investors that can inspire you to take some action and really grow your portfolio.
What he gave?
No, feel free. That's all you.
You want me to read?
That's you. You're the interviewer.
All right, Peter, I'm going to read what you sent. So, after graduating from McGill University, he says, with the superstar real estate agent Cheri Crause, I went on to work in sales for a Canadian manufacturer, importer, distributor of arts and crafts supplies. As it was a family-run business, I was exposed to many aspects of sales, marketing, and management. Wishing to grow faster than I could within the company, I set out to develop my sales agency. A combination of hard work, good fortune, and solid industry connections allowed me to grow the operations to represent large international brands and quality manufacturers in the arts, crafts, and cosmetic industries in Canada, the US, and several countries around the world. A few years ago, with the support and encouragement, maybe a little bit of a kick in the A, from Kelly, I bought a property for my company's offices. More importantly, Kelly and her team have assisted me in investing in a multi-unit building, an investment in a rent-to-own, and more recently, a couple of condos to rent out that will create positive cash flow. Kelly once told me that only 4% of people own more than one property and only 1% own more than 3. Challenge accepted. I'm now in the 1% and I owe it all to Kelly and her team. So that's what he wrote. Now, I want to start by saying that Peter and I, we have a platonic relationship. We are the longest relationship we've each had outside of our family members. We've been together since nursery school. And we went to school in what's called CEGEP in Quebec, which is like just prior to university. It's a 2 years after high school, because high school only goes to grade 11. And then we were together in university as well. Anyway, in terms of questions, Peter, what made you decide to start investing in real estate?
You. But
being
seriously,
being a business guy, though,
no.
Obviously, you had an investment slant.
Well, the truth is that I started researching a little bit more how I was going to retire in terms of still having cash flow when I retire. So the idea was that the gains in property, the value of the property, but more importantly, the rental income that could come down the line was the key driver for that.
And what were your goals when you started investing? Was specifically just that, or was it more? Was there more to it?
No, I'd love to say that I was very goal oriented and had a better plan, but it was really just honestly, your encouragement and the idea that ultimately I was going to make money got me going. I've learned a lot since then, but it was more just get going and figure it out as you go along moment.
Now, just for the audience, Peter and I went to school with some very, very rich people. We were kind of like middle class, sort of lower middle class, but we had friends, one of whom is actually a billionaire, because they all go to business school at McGill. The wealthiest people send their kids of all different cultures, right? So we were used to hanging around a lot of wealthier people, but we were the hustlers to this day, wouldn't you say?
I agree completely, yes.
Now, how did you break through the fear? Because I know that you had a lot of fear with investing. I would say more so than most clients I deal with.
Yeah, I definitely grew up extremely conservative. Lost my father when I was rather young. And so there was a lot of inbred fear from the family, my mom, of be careful with your money, don't take any chances. You never know what could happen. So I definitely was probably too conservative. So when you ask me what broke through the fear, I could say till this day, maybe there's still some fear, and I accept that. I think it's just a matter of saying I'm going to do it anyways. And I think sometimes that's just how life works. I think you got to take fear and say, I know you're there, but you're not in control. I am. You explained the market well to me. You sent me a couple of books to read that explain the velocity of money and how real estate was a solid rock foundation to get going. And I said, look, scared or not, this is something to do. So I don't know if I ever got through the fear. I just did it anyways.
Awesome. And I think you answered my question here, which was, how did your upbringing affect your decision-making regarding the real estate? So you answered that. How would you say your education affected your decision-making regarding investing?
As you mentioned a couple of seconds ago, we grew up with a lot of wealthy people, and you hear all kinds of ways that people make money. And today's world, a lot of people talk about the stock market. Oh, I invested in such and such, and it went through the roof. A lot of that is gambling. And I'm not against it. I think some people have a little bit better appetite for risk and can go that way. As you explained well to me, real estate is asset driven. So when you own a stock, you don't really know what you own. You own a piece of paper. When you own a building, a house, a condo, you own real estate. You own something hard. And hard assets tend to grow in value and never lose value. So I think that's one of the main reasons for going real estate.
And did you do any other investing other than real estate up to that point or since that point?
Yeah, like most people in this world, probably I have most of my investments at this stage in RRSPs. And yes, getting into the real estate market has given me a little bit more courage to invest outside of that as well. So trying to remember that you have to have your eggs in multiple baskets as opposed to just one. So yes, I invest money, I have properties, and the cash cow is still the job. So can't give up on the job just yet.
Yeah, well, it's actually the business more so than the job.
Correct.
But
Sorry.
You drive that business. So.
You are correct. My vocabulary may not be as good as yours.
Funny. You're so funny. I have this vivid memory of Peter and I, because he was kind of a jokester in school. I was the serious one. And I remember getting a 4 out of 10 in our stats class. And I was like suicidal because I had never seen a mark like that in my life. But it was kind of a weeder course, and Peter was cheering me up. Oh, come on, it doesn't matter. Just have a beer. That's how it is. What methods do you use to educate yourself as an investor?
I read a lot. I read a lot of books. I read a lot of articles, and now in today's world, I listen to a lot of podcasts. But most importantly, I think I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by a lot of intelligent people, yourself included. And I listen to those people. I'm not saying that anybody is necessarily telling me exactly what to do. I think you take all that information in and make your decisions from there. But being surrounded by the right people definitely helps.
Now, so far, what would you say were your best or worst investments, and what lessons did you learn from both?
I think that what I've learned, I don't know that I've had any bad investments, because I think everything is a learning experience. What I learned from the first investment that I made was that considering my business takes up a lot of my time and is very important to me. Whatever investment I make needs to be one that I don't have to invest a lot of time into. I need a good support staff, which is why I use the Cheri Crause team, because I don't have the time to dedicate as much effort as some people who have maybe more time can do. I need a good team around me. So the first investment that I made was a detached home that was commercially operated, and it was really good. I couldn't get past the idea of making it like a perfect home. I wanted to spend thousands of dollars making it nicer, which wouldn't have paid off in the long run. So I spent some money fixing it. I was able to recoup and make a little bit of a profit. But if I'd have stayed with that property longer than I did, I definitely would have sunk in a lot more money, and I wouldn't have made it back, at least not in the short run. So I definitely learned that don't fall in love with your investment. Just, it is an investment. The second thing that I learned, and that was more recently, we had this great run with interest rates, and someone I know very well said, go variable all the way. And I did. So at the time that I bought a rent to own, I was able to get a rate. I could have gotten a rate of 1.75 fixed for 5 years. But the greedy little guy that I am, every once in a while went variable at 1.4. And for the first year, that was fantastic. I was winning all the way. Then COVID hit and rates started rising, and I kept saying, oh, they're not going to go that far. Oh, they're not going to go that far. And I ended up above 6%. So that hurt. So I've also learned, in my personal opinion, I'm not sure everyone would share it, but in my personal opinion, if I'm going to be buying a rental property, I am going to get a nice, solid, fixed rate for a certain period of time, as opposed to going variable. On my home, I will go variable. I'll take that risk. It's a long-term investment for myself. But on a rental property, I personally would be a lot more attracted to fixed rates in the future as opposed to variable.
Now, I have to commend you for how you handled your rent-to-own property, because you did face adversity with the variable rate. And then we were informed by the rent-to-own tenant that they were not going to proceed with the purchase. I thought this was fantastic as an investor, because I knew it could stop the negative cash flow. He could cash out because the market would absorb, and he would make a good return on the purchase. And, I'm sure it was nerve-wracking for you. Now, the worst part is he has a really kind heart. I said, whatever you do, you are not to talk to these people. I will handle it, because he would have given away the farm. So
it's very true. I would have.
He's, justifying. They just wanted to pay the rent, not the credit. He was already losing money. The market was like $1,000 more than that, just regular rent. I said, no way. And then when I went over there, the woman has diabetes. She has to leave her job. It was a very sad situation. I said, I'm keeping him away from this completely. He's not going to negotiate with them. We'll give them some cash because they've been good tenants. But so we reimbursed them $10,000, but they had contributed $20,000 down payment and I think another $27,000 of credits. But, he would have given them, I don't know, any amount, 20, 30, 40,000, right?
Absolutely.
So anyway, then it's sold in multiple offers in a week and subject free. So it's closing soon. So I think overall you did reasonably well on the investment.
Yeah, I'm not, I would do a rent to own again in the future. I did learn lessons with that one as well. The tenants were quite kind in terms of, they reached out to me regularly. They made almost all of their payments on time. But when they were late, they explained themselves and it wasn't terribly late. But there were other issues that come about. You kind of hope that it's always just going to be super duper easy. But I'm assuming, as I'm about to get into having tenants again with the new condos that I purchased, nothing's ever perfect. So, they were parking in spots where they shouldn't be. So I was getting fined by the strata. They made messes that the strata would fine me over. So I charged back most everything that they did, but it still creates a little bit more time management that I wasn't looking for. So one thing's for sure, when you make an investment, this isn't like the stock market where you just put your money in, turn your head and come back in 10 years and figure that it should have doubled in 10 years. This does take a little bit of hand holding as you go along.
And what do you think sets you apart as an investor? Because, there are a lot of people that don't even have the courage to jump in.
I think that as much as I'm risk averse to a certain extent, I definitely have a desire to have a little bit more than the average person. As you have so kindly put, I'm a bleeding heart liberal. I'm very socialist by nature, in the sense that I think that we should take care of people who have a harder time taking care of themselves. But what I love about Canada is you can be a blend of that and a capitalist. And I do believe that, some people are allowed to have more than others because they work harder than others. They take risks that others don't take. And if I want to benefit from that, I have to live by that credo. So I work very hard, and I take certain risks because I'd like to live a fun life. I don't need to be ultra rich, but I'd love to be able to take a vacation whenever the hell I want and buy whatever the hell I want. There are some people standing on stage right now who say that cars are a waste of money because they're a depreciable asset, but God darn it, I like my cars. So I want to be able to buy cars.
Now, what would you say keeps you going through times of adversity?
I'm an eternal optimist. Good things happen to good people. And if you stay focused and stay positive, everything is going to work out. And today proved that in 3 separate stages for me, for my wife, for my children, and for my business. So it's not going to change anytime soon. I am an optimist.
Now, what have you invested in to date right now in real estate opportunities?
Other than the home that I live in right now, I own a condominium from which I have my office. That was one of the best purchases I've ever made. I still own the rent to own for another 30 days until that one closes out. Just today, I signed with the lawyers the purchase of 2 pre-sale condominiums through the awesome Cheri Crause agency. Thank you, Kelly, Diane, and the team for making this happen for me. And I have, I almost forgot. I own this big apartment building. I own 12% of it. I think it's, I believe in Mission, BC.
Yes, that's
And I have 2 more condos being made that I have put down payments on. So I own quite a bit.
Now, just because you're talking to a BC audience, could you walk us through what you paid for your principal residence and what it's worth today, as well as the commercial condo unit, just so
Yeah.
they have an idea?
Absolutely. So the home that I live in today, I'm really bad with square footage, so you're going to have to bear with me. I would say that the main floor is in the tune of 1,600 square feet, main floor, but it has a full finished basement, and it has a floor above the main floor, which is probably in the 1,000 square feet range. It has a massive property, likely in the tune of 150 deep by 100 wide. So I bought that 14 years ago for $420,000. And it is now worth in the vicinity of $1 million. I would assume if I was in Vancouver, it'd be like 10. And the commercial condo that I have is it's a 3-door unit. I own the upstairs. In Montreal terms, it's called a 5.5, which means that it has 3 bedrooms, living room, kitchen, dining, and bathroom. And it is rather large. I would say in the tune of 1,500 square feet. And it's I bought it for $433,000, and was talking with someone today, and it's probably 3 years later now, well over $500,000 that it's worth.
Now, what about the little red commercial house, orange commercial house?
The little red roof. So I bought the red roof was that original property that I bought for the business. I bought it for $330,000. We found that there was some foundation problems. They gave me $50,000 back, so I ended up buying it for $280,000. I sold it after putting in $80,000 into making it really pretty. I sold it for $430,000 3 years later. So I made a hefty $60,000 profit in 3 years. It is now on the market 3 years later for $700,000.
It's on a main drag, like it's a commercially zoned house that could be used. What is it, a physiotherapist in there now?
Right now it's a person who's doing training, just a athletic trainer. It's on the market for 7. It's been on the market for 7 for a long time. I doubt that they're going to get that big of a number for it. The challenge is when it's zoned commercially, the taxes are significantly higher. So he has to pay in the tune, well, I don't know if that's going to be comparable for you guys, but in the tune of $10,000 a year in taxes, city taxes.
That's significant.
Yeah.
Now, what advice would you give to someone just starting out as an investor?
Get started. Get started. I think that's the main one. Walk through the fear. You may still have it, but walk through the fear. I know that people in the room might think that I'm just trying to boost up my friend, but the truth is a great real estate agent like the Kelly Fry agency definitely helps quite a bit. I enjoy the rent to own was an interesting way of doing it because you have a guaranteed tenant at a guaranteed price. But I like these new ones that you got me into, which is the pre-sales, because you get in on the ground floor when the prices are a little bit better. If you get in early enough, I'm sure that each of the pre-sales that I've purchased have grown in value by 5 to 10% in the 2 years while they're being built, and I haven't done anything yet. So it's that, to me, those are 2 great ways of getting started.
And how did you find it being abroad? Because you're, fairly far away, 5-hour plane ride. How did you find investing abroad, and was there fear surrounding that?
All right, so I'm biting my tongue on all the jokes I'm about to say, I would love to say. But I think the reality is it doesn't matter where you do it. You need the right people working with you. And God, I sound like a broken record when I say that your team has been so helpful, but it truly is the case. It doesn't matter where you do it. If you have the right people helping you get the job done, it happens properly. And I just think of on your team, Diane, who's done so much in the last couple of weeks for me. She is definitely gonna get a little thank you note with maybe something else after all the work that she's done for me in the last little bit. But that's the best way. It doesn't matter whether I lived in Vancouver or whether I lived in where I live here. I mean, a half an hour drive in the Greater Vancouver area sometimes turns into an hour and a half, as we know that I almost missed a flight when I was with you last time.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't matter. I think that whether I'm in Vancouver or I'm in Greenfield Park here, if the team is right, the investment's going to go easy.
Awesome. Where will you go from here?
In my particular case, it's truly based on how my business does. So the last couple of years were extremely successful. So the extra cash flow allowed me to have the down payments to get moving. And right now, business is slow. I think it's true everywhere. I was just listening to Cam talk about the market, and it's just everyone's being a little more cautious, and I'll probably take the cautious route for the next 12 to 24 months and see where things lie at the end of that. There are those who have taught me that I have a lot of money in the home that I live in that I can use to put a down payment on another house. I have done that. I don't mind doing that in the future if the opportunity's there, but I'd like my business to be doing well enough to back me up if I hit a bump in the road. So for right now, I think if I look at what my portfolio holds, I'm somewhere around 6 or 7 properties with you, Kelly. That's a good number for now. If a nice opportunity comes up, I'm definitely going to jump on it, but I'm not actively hunting one at the moment.
Plus, you got all those friends that are still in Montreal that can be joint venture partners for you.
Well, that'll be the next stage. You're going to have to teach me some more. That's all.
And you have we have 3 friends that we went to school with that all gave $1 million to a hospital in different cities. In fact, one of them just gave $5 million. Gives you an idea of the magnitude of the wealth, right? So Bloomy's family gave $1 million in Cornwall to the hospital.
Yeah.
Kathy from Saputo Cheese, they gave $1 million to the Montreal hospital, and then Paul Paletta's family gave, I believe, $1 million, but recently $5 million. So anyway, here in Vancouver, Peter's biggest client is Opus, right?
Yep.
So he comes to Vancouver at least once a year to see Opus.
At least.
Supplies all their paintbrushes. And now this is kind of a fun thing that gets brought up by Cameron mostly, but Peter, these people don't believe that I wrestled in craft dinner in university. So I said, well, Peter can attest to it because he was there cheering me on.
Yes. We have many stories from university, and I won't embarrass you because I really could.
Well, thanks so much for speaking to us tonight. It's been great.
Well, thank you all for what you do. And
yes.
And to the audience.
We have a question. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
At what age did you start investing? You're going to give away our age.
In real estate?
Yeah.
So I bought my, other than my main home, the first property I bought was in my late 40s. I would say in the 48 range. And I was late to the game. just for anybody who's in there that's younger, you got to fight through the fear is really what it boils down to.
Any more questions, anyone? Yes, Rainer.
Well, vive la belle province. I grew up in Montreal, went to St. Jeff Dawson College, and I just, not a question but a comment, I really like your genuineness and your seem like a delightful human being. So
Thank you.
bonjour.
And you know what's special about Peter too is that he is half English and half French. So there's many of a time where we'd be out and there'd be political issues and he would jump in the fight and he could speak for both sides.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate scenario. We should all just speak multiple languages and be happy with it. But there's always somebody trying to make it a problem, right?
Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Peter. Kelly, I'm going to grab that microphone. And I'm super happy that Kelly actually brought that up because I was definitely going to ask for an embarrassing story, but she beat me to the punch because she knew I was probably going to do it. So again, thank you so much, Peter. We really appreciate it. And,
Do you want a non-embarrassing story, but funny nonetheless?
Yes, let's hear
So
it.
when we were in CJEP, Kelly's dad had a minivan, and Kelly had access to the minivan all the time. So Kelly would often and quite regularly be the designated driver, so the rest of us could all get drunk and pile into the back of the minivan.
Love it. Love it.
Have
All
a good
right.
evening, everyone.
Thanks, Peter. All right. Okay, so we're going to reset. Drag this over here. Give me just 1 second, folks. There we go. All right. So we're going to move on to our next segment here, which is called Tales from the Trenches. Now, this is a segment that was born out of the fact that regularly you go to different events, you go to, seminars, and you learn the glamorous side of real estate, the making the money, the what it can do for you, retiring on beaches, things like that. And we don't hear all the time about the other side. And suddenly you get into real estate and something happens, whether it's a tenant issue, a property issue, anything, and you don't know what to do. So this was born out of that. What do you do when something happens? How do you either avoid it by learning from someone else's mistake, or if it's unavoidable, what can you do to mitigate any of the issues that arise from it to protect your asset? And today we're really excited, but also really sad to hear this story. This is a very tragic story. But Debbie Balfour is coming up here today. Debbie, come on up. I'm going to get you mic'd up. Debbie has gone through an unfortunate incident, something that nobody wants to go through. But it was earlier this year, last year,
last year.
late last year.
No, it was early last
Early
year.
last year. Oh my God, it's taking so long. She unfortunately lost her home. So her home was destroyed in a fire. I had the opportunity to go and tour it just a couple of weeks ago and see the updates. That was really cool. But there's been a lot of lessons. And when Debbie was going through what she's been through trying to get this home back to a state that's livable, I said, you have to come and speak here because this is stuff that we don't talk about enough is insurance issues. And so I'm not going to say anything more. I'm going to let you take it away. Just hit that button for your slides and you're good to go. So Debbie,
Awesome.
welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So I am a real estate investor, a real estate investing coach. But what I'm going to talk to you today is about my principal residence, but it applies to your investment properties too. So, it's across the board. So on Mother's Day, 2023, at 9:30 p.m., my house ignited. My neighbor's hot tub, which was right against my fence, went on fire. It started smoking at 9 p.m. according to our other neighbor's doorbell. And by 9:30, both houses were on fire, like full fire. Right? It got upgraded to a commercial fire because the homes are, although single detached, they're close together. It's a Bearland Strata community. So I had 4 fire hoses on my home, and there were 6 fire trucks that came out, right? So another investor, he was driving by, and he messaged me, and he says, Deb, I see there's a fire in your complex. Are you okay? And I went, no, it's mine. So, so yeah, that's a picture of it on fire there. There's my son. No shirt, no shoes. Right? We just had to run out. Yeah. And the fire trucks weren't even there yet. So, and that's, yeah. So anyway, but
Sorry, what city is that?
Langley.
In Langley.
Yeah, Walnut Grove. So I'm always a person that looks at things though as okay, it happened. What can we learn from it? I actually got on my knees that same night on this driveway to say to ask God, like, get us through this, but what is my lesson to learn? So one of those lessons is I want to share with you, with all of you, and it's around insurance. Oh, I did the wrong thing, Stan. Okay, the other one, yeah. So things that I didn't know that I want you to know, right? When it comes to your insurance policies, there are 2 types of policies. What I don't have is a guaranteed replacement cost, which means guaranteed replacement is everything, like whatever it costs to rebuild that house, they have to pay it. Right? So they'll do a calculation. Both will do a calculation of allowances you're going to pay your premiums on, but the guaranteed replacement will, if it goes over that amount, they have to pay it. I have what's called single allowance, right? Which it's nice in the sense that if you say there are other things that's in your policy, right? There's the rebuild, there's what's called the additional living expenses, because now I'm out of my home. They're paying, the insurance policy is paying for my rental expenses. However, that's an allowance. Right? When I lost my home, everybody goes, oh, well, you're insured. It's really bad that it's happened, but you'll be okay. Well, it hasn't been okay because I'm still out of my home. It's over, like we were saying, it was Mother's Day of 2023. And my home's still not built yet. It's just Cam's just walked, we just did the behind the walls tour. So I could, all of the electrical and everything. So that's where we're at the moment. My neighbor's house, who caused the fire, right? They have a much better insurance company than mine. Their house is rebuilt and they're already in the home, right? So, don't think I'm alone in this. When I go for insurance, like you were busy saying, okay, what's my premium? You trust your insurance broker that you're covered, and you just sign, right? Stop that. Start looking at exactly what are you getting covered for? How will it work if something happens, right? So my ALE, my additional living expenses, is $96,000. The first home, they're supposed to replace, like put you in a rental home the same size as your home. Well, that rental home, I ended up in Maple Ridge because I wanted something quickly, to get in quickly, and just through our real estate network was able to find someone who had just renovated a house and had it available, a 5-bedroom home. That was $5,000. And then garbage you have to pay for in Maple Ridge, and I had to pay for like lawn care and that sort of stuff. So I started looking, it started taking me into like closer to the 6,000. Now I have 96,000. So at 6,000 a month, how long is that going to last me, right? When that is up, I have to pay the rent. It comes out of my pocket, right? So that's something to consider. Like, so look at all of those allowances, and how much is it going to cost you? Also, your content insurance. We think, oh, I've had that for years, blah, blah, blah. Like I bought it for this much. Don't worry about how much you bought it for. How much are you going to have to spend to replace it today? right? When we worry about the premiums. If we put more, we're going to, this is, we're going to have to pay more, and we're trying to reduce our premiums. However, as I have back here, it happens to other people, but it doesn't happen to you, right? That's what you think all the time. It's not going to happen to me. It's a pain to pay this insurance, like that sort of stuff. But when I saw my fence on fire, stupidly in my head, I still didn't think my house was going to go up on fire. I thought fire trucks will get here, put it out, and my home will be fine. Right? Lost everything. Everything. I managed to save photos because they were in the basement in Rubbermaid containers. So something to do, because then it didn't get any water damage, right? So yeah. So that single allowance, the way they sell it to you is that if you run, so if I run out of my ALE and I don't use all of my content insurance, then I can take my content insurance to pay for my additional living expenses, right? And that sort of stuff. But right now, so talking about insurance brokers, and you just trust them, they do a calculation and tell you this is how much your allowance is, and you trust it. Don't. I am in shortfall $300,000 to rebuild my home. And I didn't have a mortgage. Right? So now I've got to tap into my own expenses. What I'm going to do though is take my content insurance to put to the build, so my house will be empty. But at least I'm going to have a roof over my head. Right? But I didn't think at 55 years of age, I'm starting from scratch. Right? Yeah, calculating your coverage. So this is it, right? So they, the brokerage, they tell you, ask you how many square feet is your home, and they do a calculation, and they say, okay, this is how much you need to be covered for. You find out from a builder how much it is to rebuild a home at, like, when you're renewing, how much is it really to rebuild your home? Because $770,000 is how much it is to rebuild my home. $480,000 is how much I'm covered for.
I'd just like to point out too, you're not rebuilding it
from scratch,
right? So that's still the cost.
I didn't have to knock it down. We took it back to studs. We had to take it back to studs. However, to take it back to the studs, the insurance company brought in the restoration company. I had no control over that, and I should have. Right? I should be able to choose my own restoration company, my own architect, my own engineer. But they did these things. They commissioned people and then sent me the invoice to sign off on. It's not the insurance company's money; it's your money, right? Because I need to manage that, so that I now, with my build now, so it was $60,000 to just pull back the insides to studs, so that the engineer can come in and say, is it a knockdown or not? They wanted to pull everything back to studs right at the beginning. And imagine if that was a knockdown. So that's $60,000 there that I spent just to do that. And if they had come in, the engineer had come in and say it was a knockdown, that's $60,000 gone. Guess where that $60,000 came out of? My rebuild allowance. So now I'm at $420,000. The architect was $7,000 or more. The engineer was $8,000. So add those up plus my rebuild. Right? So yeah, way under. So I'm telling everyone, like, either get guaranteed replacement, or if you're going to get the single allowance because it sounds great, make sure you get actual thing. But I'm doing it right now. They're renewing. I'm telling for my present home, and they're trying to tell me 600,000, like 625,000 is enough. I'm like, I'm paying 770,000. I know how much it costs. Like, I've got actual costs right now. No way. And then I'm asking them to, knowing what I know about the, pulling it back and the other costs, I said, no, like, $800,000 at least. I want, and we'll see what the underwriters say. This is Westland Insurance, by the way, everyone. So if you have Westland, get out. Get out. Because I'm not the only one that's faced this. They've also caused delays after delays after delays on this for no reason. 6 months to decide on my scope of work. When the engineer was in there in September, and the consulting team was in there, they sent it to me. I went through it along with someone that I'm having advocate for me. So another builder came in, they did the work. So I could say all about the finishes that were incorrect on their scope of work. And then he was talking about the things behind the scenes, the technical stuff that I didn't know about. We got it back to them right away. Not until March did they come back with that. They kept going back and forth with me, telling me that my basement was not done by permit. Right? I was, and I kept saying, look, just do the scope of work exactly as you see it. I will deal with the township if there's a problem. Then I eventually thought, what am I doing? I picked up the phone and called the township, and township says, yeah, there's a permit. We sent it to the architect. Right? 6 months, and the claims person that I'm the adjuster and dealing with is an outside person. So this is another company, a third-party company that they've hired to look after it. No empathy whatsoever. Like 2 weeks later, he'll come back with one word answers on there, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Today, I've started my build on my own money. They still haven't, although the bid came through, they've agreed on the bid. They haven't paid out on that bid. So I've started with my own builder that was not part of the bid, using my own money, using my HELOC, right, in order to pay for this. And I just got a check on Monday for some of it, but still not how much I've shelled out so far. Right? So it wouldn't have been even started yet if I didn't start it on my own. So something to know about rental properties, though, they don't have guaranteed replacement costs. They only have replacement costs. So on your rental properties, the same thing. Make sure that we want to get more cash flow. We don't want to pay as high, but what if this happens? Right? If you're not going to pay to the insurance company, then put aside the money in an account in case this happens. That will compensate for that shortfall on there. And then there's something called, they're public adjusters, and then there's insurance lawyers. So I didn't even know about these public adjusters. All I knew is they're like ambulance tracers, honestly. They contacted me the day after the fire. They said that they've got insurance backgrounds. They deal with all these things. I got references from them on people that they've dealt with in the Okanagan. With Westland, they were having a nightmare too with it. But so they will advocate on your behalf. So they understand the policy, and it was good because they explained this whole single allowance, because today the insurance company still hasn't explained to me what that meant, right? What I can and cannot do. However, what I found with them is that they've now created another problem for me, because instead of being proactive, they've only been reactive. So instead of going through the stuff, being on top of it, going back to the insurance company saying, what's happening here, get things done, they only have been reacting when I reach out and say, what's happening? And they flow through. So now, as soon as you get a lawyer or an adjuster, somebody else acting on your behalf with the insurance company, they stop speaking to you. Yep, they don't want to hear. You've put somebody else in there, they're going to speak on your behalf. So now I have to go through the public adjuster, wait for them to answer me, right? And then they're going to send it to the adjuster for the insurance company. And then we'll wait for that to come back. So daisy chain back to me, right? They're not even filtering through the information they're getting from the claims adjuster, to say this is not right, this is not right. When it comes to me, I'm sending it back going, this is not right, what's this, what does this mean? I've recently found out, because now I'm in shortfall, what do? Right? So my insurance company will eventually sue my neighbor's insurance company to get back the money, but they're only covering me for how much I'm covered for. So I've called up some insurance lawyers. Luckily, I found one that happens to be a friend of my cousin's, and she's actually worked for me before on a car accident that I had, that she will take me on. But you know what they're saying? They're saying unless I brought the whole portfolio to them with the content insurance, like that part is the easy part, right? Part of for them, they don't want to look at it, right? And because if they will do the same as the public adjuster, help me with everything there, but they will litigate on my behalf, which is something I didn't know that we had insurance lawyers that would do all of this. So it would deal with the insurance company, right? And you can just step back. Yeah, but they would litigate on my behalf. But now these public adjusters, they don't do litigation. So the lawyer doesn't want to, the ones I've spoken to before, before Paulina, they don't want to look at mine if it's, because it's less than 500,000. And they're going to take 30% of what I get. These public adjusters are taking 10% of what I get, and they have not reduced my stress. Like that was the whole point of getting them there. As real estate investors, we say, get people who know what they're talking about, so you can get on with your life and they can take care of it. No, they haven't reduced my stress at all. I've had to deal with all of this. Like I had to pick up the phone with the township to sort out this back and forth that I don't have a permit on that. So yeah, so the insurance lawyers will litigate and help you with everything. They know that. Now I don't have, I have to go separately. But and then if I was over 500,000, which I could be, I don't know at this point, because all the numbers haven't come in. He wants 30% of what I get. 30%. So I'll still be in shortfall. So, yeah. So around that, like understand your insurance policy. Ask them where is it guaranteed. Ask them what's going to happen. How does it work? Know that you've got your content insurance. You've got like outside is on a separate to the rebuild. There's like decks and those kind of things. There's landscaping. All of those are all separate on your policy. So look at those. If you've got a big garden, like a big backyard, you've got, a coach house or anything like that. So be aware of that. Okay. So here's lessons that I've learned from the actual fire. Have a go bag near your exit. We left our home. We had no underwear, no toothbrushes, no clothes, like my son, no shirt, no shoes. We lost it all. Right? So have something that you can, with underwear, with toothbrushes, with toothpaste, a change of clothing, so that when you have to run out, because usually fires happen at nighttime. Right? So you're usually in your pajamas, or like my boys, it was hot that Mother's Day, so they didn't have any clothes on. Do a video walkthrough of your home. Like if you can get a Matterport, it's about $300. How much is it? Yeah, but it's great. Like get that video walkthrough of it, that virtual walkthrough, because when the fire destroys everything like it did with my place, and it's really dark in there too, you can see, you have proof of your finishes when you're dealing with the insurance company. The other thing, take photos. Take photos of your valuables, but take photos of your closets. Like we have an inventory list of over 3,000 items, and I'm sure we're still missing stuff that's on there. They went in and did their inventory, but it was missing things. There also the brand names and things like that they were calling it were not right on there. So you want something to jog your memory. You can't take a picture of everything you have. But if you've got some really valuable stuff, make sure you take pictures of it. I had one of those books that you're supposed to take for like pictures and put in it, and I never bothered. I just luckily happened to have had my home appraised because I extended my HELOC in 2022, and the appraiser didn't want to come in because of COVID, right? Beginning of 2022, like all of that was over. Maybe he was just being lazy, but luckily, so he wanted me to take pictures of the house, send it to him, and he based it on that, on the pictures. So I happen to have pictures of the home that I can prove. And that helped me to, but have pictures of your closets and things like that will trigger, oh, I had that suit, I had those shoes, that will, because you're not, what you had there as soon as you see it. But when you're trying to, like, from a blank memory, trying to picture your whole house of what you had, it's extremely difficult. Have a fire retardant safe. So I had, the question, if you have 2 minutes, what do you save? I had that moment. Fire out there. It's coming towards our house. We should have run out. My neighbor, who is a fireman, had a few choice words for us when he came into our house. But we all had like 2 minutes. We ran back in and we grabbed something. I grabbed a file folder that I had with our IDs in it, our birth certificates, our passports, that sort of stuff. My oldest son grabbed, he had the one with no shoes, no shirt, but he grabbed his laptop and his two cameras because he's a content creator. And he says, this house is going up, I've got to earn money. And my younger one just went and put some clothes on. Right? So, but have a fire retardant safe, because I did have a metal, filing cabinet, and the stuff in there wasn't it was smoky, all right, and it wasn't closed properly, but it was protected, and it was where a lot of the fire was, like my office and my son's room, like it was like my younger son's room was just incinerated. And in my office, a lot of my stuff, which the tax man, I won't have any receipts to prove. It's all burned to the fire. But have a fire retardant safe for those, for your IDs, for that information, because it will save it, right? And then the Rubbermaid containers for put your like photos and things like that, because a lot of the damage is not just like the fire was up, came along the back wall, right? And like my younger son's room was disintegrated, but a lot of the other stuff was all smoke and water damage that was in there. That's what damaged everything, and it doesn't come out, right? So you can't. So if you put like all the things that we had in Rubbermaid containers, it stayed well. Some Christmas decorations that I had to. It's really sad. I was still going through the trauma, and I went into those Christmas decorations, and I opened it up, the Rubbermaid container, and I was in tears. I was like, it smells like home, right? So so those are my lessons. All right. So I am doing, as a real estate investor, I'm a coach also. So I've been working with some other coaches and service providers like Green Mortgage, Savvy Investor. I've got an accountant in there and things for giveaways. So like they're like free tools, templates, % off services, free consultations. So it's happening on September 2nd to the 8th. So if you're interested, there's the QR code, and it will open up then, so I can send the link right to your mailbox, and then you can download those. And I'm going to do another one in January. So anybody here that's any service providers for real estate investors want to be part of it, we'll do it again for next year. And that's how to get in touch with me.
All right. Thank you, Debbie. Now, before you go, so obviously lots of lessons to be learned. And as we were talking, we were going through the property. You had the opportunity to bring some of your investor friends and family, and we did a tour with your builder, which was super cool, and getting to see, what happened. And that's where the story came out. And I said, okay, we have to have Debbie to come talk about that, because how many of us really think about that scenario, like making sure we have the proper coverage? But you talked about, like, okay, there's always something to learn, but there's also some silver linings. You mentioned too while you were there, and you kind of showed us there's an opportunity where you're kind of changing things up a little bit, right?
Yeah. So my even on the outside, like my son comes and goes, doesn't look like the same house, because now redoing the siding, I've got more like the modern farmhouse. So I've got white siding, black roof, black fascia boards, black gutters on there. I'm bringing like wood elements in, into the front porch, and I've got fern columns where it was wrapped with that stuff. So and then
she's always
inside,
thinking like an investor. We're talking resale all the whole time.
So I even messaged some of my realtor friends and said, I didn't message them.
We talked about that.
But I was like, I had vacuum, central vac in. Is it still a thing? Does that sell anything? Does it help with sales? And they were like, no, everybody's using Dysons and the little RoboVac, right? So it's like, okay, out of scope. So I'm able to take that out of scope. My 4-bedroom home, I'm making into a 6-bedroom home. So it's just some walls to put up. So it's not costing me a lot more. So I'm doing that. I'm networking my home. So all of the rooms have got, networks in them. So it's so you can either go right into, the landline in there, or you can put routers in each room. But that's a big thing. Well, my kids, one's an editor for content creator and one's a content creator. Right. So they're always streaming. They're needing to use a lot of that. So that makes it was always difficult with the Wi-Fi. What else did I do?
You had a list of things.
The kitchen I've moved, like the kitchen. So I had a formal dining room. That was another realtor question. Is it more? Do I get more money if I open it up and make it one great room, or do I get more money because it's more rooms and have a formal dining room? So open it up. So I've removed the wall. I've moved the kitchen to the front, and now then I've got an island, and then attached to the island, I'm building on a dining room table out of live edge wood. Mm-hmm. So yeah. And then I've moved doors and windows and that sort of stuff. So my lounge is bigger there. I'm downstairs. I'm soundproofing with insulation now, so that we're going to have like a projector and surround sound. So, and then I've put a door. It used to be walk straight in to the basement. So now I've put a door there because I'm thinking like, so upstairs was 3 bedrooms. It's now 4, where my office was a mezzanine, an open plan. So I've closed that up because the direction we're going right now, because of the prices of home, kids are coming back home. We're having more multi-generational homes. My home can't be made into a suite because it's in-ground basement, but I can add more rooms with that in mind. Mm-hmm. So, it's all those things. And I had taken out the bathtub in upstairs because my boys were, older. So I'd made it into a shower before the renovation. Now I've put back the bathtub there because this is no longer going to be my forever home. Like it changes the way you think with things like that, right? It gave, like, I'm out of there enough now that I'm not attached to it anymore. And now my husband and the boys have moved out too. Now I've got a 6-bedroom house for 2 of us. so it's like, so we're moving back in for a few more years. But, it's opened up opportunities of us moving to the island, maybe, right? Where in Souk you can get, for $700,000, you can get a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom home with land on it. My home is going to be, I don't know what, then it's finished about 1.5, maybe.
Sure,
yeah. So
depends on when it's sold and.
Yeah, exactly. And, in a few years too. So So also, or Portugal, just take that money, sell up, and then move to Portugal and rent there and have investments.
Well, if you need a contact in Portugal, I've got a guy. We actually had him here doing presentations.
Oh, awesome.
Before,
That's
so
good. I'm
you
starting
just
to
let me
know.
know. And he does
So-
great wine tours too out here. So.
Well, I'm planning to go on and next year.
Okay, well, let me
Start
know, 'cause
checking
he
it
actually does
out.
big tours too, so I can put you in touch with
Awesome.
him. So. All right, well, again, thank
Okay.
you so much, Debbie. I'm going to
Thank
grab
you.
the microphone back from you
Oh,
as
yeah.
well there. And round of applause for Debbie. That's
Thank you. Oh,
I just push
Oh,
the,
okay.
push the tab.
push the tab.
Yeah, it's just
There we go.
a little
Oh, like that.
Perfect. All right. So again, this is a segment we've been doing. This is actually season 8, episode 8. And, again, I think this was a really valuable lesson for everyone. A lot of times we have like funny stories of tales of tenant issues and things like that. But every once in a while, we have one of these stories that is very impactful, that really teaches a lot of lessons. And I really appreciate Debbie coming out and sharing that, because obviously, a lot of other people, it would be a very devastating thing. They might not even want to talk about it. But Debbie's been amazing at sharing her story and, like I said, bringing us on a tour to get to see what she's doing with the property, everything like that. So very brave, and I can't wait to see the finished product. We're gonna have
I'll have another one.
yeah, do a big housewarming party, re-housewarming party. So that's Tales from the Trenches. All right, we're gonna move on to our final speaker. But again, if you're enjoying the content today, take lots of photos, videos, post it, tag us at Kelly Fry Team. We'd love to see what you guys are taking away from this. And without further ado, I'm gonna bring up my next speaker. I'm actually going to bring her on stage here while we introduce her. There we go. There's Cheri. We'll go like this for now. Oh, Cheri, welcome. Oh, I think you're muted still right now, so we need you to unmute.
Unmute. There you go.
There you go.
Yep.
All right. Well, welcome, Cheri. How you doing today?
Thank you. Very good. Thanks. Yep.
Excellent. I'm just going to bring you up on the big screen here, and then we're going to read your bio out and then let you do your thing. Once I do that, jury, can you just remove me and the thing after I read it out?
Where did you go? I can't hear you.
So you can hear me. There we go.
I
There
can
we
hear
go.
you
Okay.
now.
My assistant is being a little trigger happy and removing me from stage. So,
Okay.
all right. So Cheri's been a realtor for over 17 years in the Greater Victoria area. She services Langford and Souk and all those areas that Debbie just mentioned. She and her spouse also completed over 47 real estate transactions and managed most of the properties themselves. They developed a 20-unit apartment in 2014, 30 in 2016. And you can see the rest there. I'm going to let her mostly talk about that because that's from her building the ground up. And they also help with investors reach their real estate goals in the Victoria area. In fact, she's also one of the Keyspire realtors. We know there's some Keyspire members in the room here today. We get to hang out in another month down in the Toronto area for the summit. I'm excited to see you. But that's basically it. I'm not going to talk too much because I want Cheri to really tell her story about how she was able to build her portfolio literally from the ground up with those. So, Cheri, you can take it away.
Okay. Well, thank you for inviting me to do this. It's great, actually. And so I'm just going to talk, and there may be questions. So, Cam, you'll have to let me know if there are questions because I can't see anybody. And if I can't hear them, I can't answer. But I'm happy to answer questions. So, he gave me, oh, hi, everybody. He gave me a little bit of an introduction. So, but I'll go back just a little bit further than when I became a realtor 17 years ago. My first profession was as a certified financial planner, specializing in tax and accounting issues and estate problems. And then I got introduced into real estate investing. I actually bought my first investment condo with Rick in 1997, and we still own that condo today. So we went into real estate investing with the buy and hold philosophy was sort of our idea. But anybody that's been doing this for a while, you know that as markets change, you have to sometimes reevaluate where you're at and what you want to do. And so we have found that we have bought and sold over the years as well. So we started out doing the small type investing where we were buying condos, buy a house with a suite, little things like that, but nothing really large, nothing more than 2 units. And most of you probably know who Peter Kinch is. And he came over to Victoria and did a presentation once and talked about his gap analysis. And we all went through the exercise and did this little thing. And I looked at it and I went, oh dear, I'm going to be doing little houses and condos forever to get to where I wanted to be. And I thought, I wanted something a little bit faster, not seriously risky, but just a little bit with the speed to give me that income on a monthly basis I was seeking. So I then from there started thinking about how do I get into bigger projects or apartment buildings or things like that. I met Ozzie Jurek and Ralph Case with their real estate action group. And they were dealing with apartment buildings and really took me through and taught me what it looks like to have apartment buildings. And I thought, that's what I want to do. And because it would get me my cash flow much quicker than doing $100 here, or in Victoria, we might be breaking even and just going on appreciation. So apartment buildings. And I was under the mistaken belief at that point in time that I couldn't buy an apartment building in Victoria because they were too expensive. And so I started looking everywhere else. We even did trips to Edmonton and other places in Alberta looking for apartment buildings, and realizing that I also didn't want to be a slum landlord, which was some of the places we had looked at, gave me that feeling. And I thought, no, I'm not really into that either. So it was one of those dreams that I did not give up on, but I was beginning to wonder if it would ever happen. And because it had been 4.5, almost 5 years, and I hadn't bought an apartment building yet. And at a Ozzie Jurek conference in Vancouver, I met a lady once who ironically was from Victoria, and she was a builder, but she was just building, she built for herself, not for other people. And we struck up a conversation. We met a few times. We started getting into a professional business relationship where I would go out and find properties for her to build on. And then when she'd get done and look at something else, and we bank some properties. So I was working for her as a realtor. And one of the projects that she started, and I helped her get the land for, was a purpose-built apartment building. And this was in Langford on the west shore of the Greater Victoria area. And for any of you that know Langford, it's very aggressive. But it had, at that time, had not had a purpose-built rental built for over 30 years. And this was in 2012. So it had been 30 years since they'd had rental buildings purpose-built done. And this was like amazing. And so they had we got the land, they were going to do a second one, and got the property across the street and all that. And I thought, this is cool. I need to sit down and maybe talk to her differently. So I had said to her one day on the phone, I said, hey, I would really like to own an apartment building someday. Do you mind if we sit down sometime and talk about that? And she said, sure, that'd be great. Because in my mind, I was thinking maybe at some point she would sell a building that she had and I would buy that. So about 2 weeks went by and she called me and she said, Cheri, she said, I can build you an apartment building cheaper than you could buy an existing one. Would you like to talk about that? Yes, I would. definitely, I would like to talk about that. I talked to Rick, and him and I sat down with them in January of 2014. And we looked at a project. They said, we're willing to help you because we want to learn how to build for other people. And we want to learn how to have purpose-built rental buildings. And so we met, and they presented an opportunity for us, which at that time was 63 units. We looked at it, we hummed and hawed, and we went, oh, just a little bit too big of a project, scared us off. Too big to start when we felt we didn't know anything. 63 units scared me. And so we said, no, not that. But then we found another property. And in August of 2014, we put in an offer on that property. We took possession in the end of September. And we did the demolition November 30th of 2014. And on November 1st, 2015, we were moving people into our first purpose-built apartment building, 20 units. We paid at that time $440,000 for the land it was on. And we built it. There was no underground parking. It was surface parking, covered, but surface. And they were all 2-bedroom, 2-bath units. And it was a 6-story wood frame construction. So while we were building that, we were on the lookout for, when we were done that, where would our next project be? So we built a 30-unit apartment building across the street, and then 63 units after that. And then we had a 145-unit building that we had put together and rezoned. So we were building stuff. And of course, we didn't have all the money to do it. We raised investor funds, which is a whole nother conversation, but we used a limited partnership structure, and we got investors. Raising the money was a little bit harder than I'd initially thought it would be. But then we had no track record for ourselves. And so that's always a little bit of, challenge. But then once we did the first building and we completed it, paid our investors out, they were more than willing to put the money back into our second project. We in all of our projects that we raised money for, we had a 60% reinvesting rate. Some people, they definitely need the money, had other things to do, but 60% of the money we raised would always come back into the next project. And that really makes it easier because you're not having to go out there and drum up all this money again. So you're starting to get a reputation for that, which was really good, because how the apartment building would go is that you'd raise the money, you'd get all the permits, have the design work done, you'd start the build, you get the draws from the financing. And on our first building, we didn't qualify for an A lender, so we had to go with a B lender. And then, because nobody knew who we were. And then once we got that under our belt, then we could go to an A lender. But it is a process to sort of do that. And then at that time, what you could do is at the end, and when you had 75% occupancy, you could start the discussions to get what was called a takeout mortgage. And the takeout mortgage would basically now be on a finished unit, or furnished building, I should say. And then that money would come in and pay off the construction loan, as well as pay back our investors. In our first building, because we were new and didn't really know everything that needed to be known, we were a little bit short, so we didn't actually get a lot of profit, but we did learn a lot, and we managed to have some cash flow, which was the original goal. We were building apartment buildings to provide housing, and we were building apartment buildings to give us cash flow. We were looking at our retirement, what we were going to do, thought this was the way to do it. And then we did the second one. We learnt from that second one. We came out much better at the end. The third one, much better. But one of the things that we found, which is, I feel, is quite interesting to learn as you do this, was that we had an idea. You always have an idea of what it's going to be like when you get to that goal. I'm going to own this condo, or I'm going to assign it, and then I'm going to have this money. And you have an idea of what it's going to do. And then when you get there, it's not quite the way you thought it might be. And that's what I found with apartment buildings. I love apartment buildings. I am more than happy that we did this, but it didn't change my life the way I thought it would. I thought from day one, we would have this incredible cash flow coming in, that we would just be able to do stuff. If I was still working, it would be great. We'd just be able to plow this money away, or plow down the mortgage, or reinvest in other things, etc. And it didn't quite work that way because, as I said, we had made some mistakes on the first one. So we didn't quite have that buffer in there. So anytime that something went that we didn't really think of ahead of time, that ate at our cash flow, right? Oh, I've got to put out money for this. Never thought of that. We had property managers, and when they're managing an apartment building, they collect all the rent on the first, but you don't actually get paid out from the property management company until about the 20th or 25th of the month. So depending on when your mortgages all flow will depend on how your cash flow looks for the first few months. There's always little things that, even though it's a new building, once you have a bunch of people living there and using it, all the little, deficiencies come out a little bit more than what you had thought. So although it was great, and by the time we were done the second one, I was feeling a little bit more where I was, or where I thought I would be after the first one. But I still didn't feel that we were doing enough that, say, if I wanted to, I could quit my day job. If, that we just couldn't go, because all of the bulk of our net worth went through the roof, but the bulk of our net worth was tied up in the building, right? And at that time you could finance, but it's a commercial building. You could only finance to like 75% of the value of the build. And we needed to pay off the construction mortgage and our investors, blah, blah, blah. So how much was left out of that? But you then had 25% of this equity, which is great, looks wonderful on paper, but doesn't change, or I didn't feel it changed my life. So in 2019, we had a REIT approach us, and they wanted to buy the 3 finished buildings that we had as a package. And we had already sort of knew from going from our first building to our third building, the prices were starting to rise. Rents were still going up, but we had lineups at our second building. Third building took a little bit longer to fill. And we knew at some point in time when we did our takeout mortgages, we did 5-year fixed. But we knew at some point in time, those interest rates were going to climb. And we got really good interest rates. So if you have a mortgage really, really well at 3 or 3.5%, but when they come up for renewal, this is commercial I'm talking about, they come up for renewal in 5 years, which would have been 2000 and what was the first one? 2020. Wouldn't have been too bad, but 2021 and 22, yeah, those interest rates could wipe out your cash flow just like that, right? So we kind of looked at that. We also knew now, having run buildings for a few years, that when they started, like, they were new, so they weren't taking a lot of maintenance, but it was going to come. We had hot water on demand. We had heat pumps. We had all those things where we could get top rent. And we knew that that was going to come. And we were getting older and thinking, but we want cash flow. I want to be able to stop work. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to do all these things, right? That I had in my mind of what it would mean to have this huge portfolio. So we made the decision. It was a very good price. And now hindsight, it was the perfect decision for us at that time. We sold the 3 finished buildings we had at that time. We kept all our smaller stuff, and we had the 145 unit one that we were working on. So we decided to sell those 3. And I have to say, which might go against some of the grain of some investors, but again, you always have to reevaluate. Selling those buildings changed my life. Selling those buildings changed my life. What it allowed me to do was take some of those chips off the table and put them somewhere where I didn't feel it was going to be at as high a risk. Because when we did those first 3 buildings, every time we had to put everything back in. We had to sign personal guarantees for everything. We had to put all of our money back in and still raise money. Those were the things we had to do. When we sold those 3 buildings, we were able to, because all our investors were paid out at that point in time. The money that we got after paying off the mortgage was ours. And so that is what changed my life. Gave me the choice to, do I want to keep working or not keep working? I could quit. I could give up my license tomorrow if I wanted. Rick did retire. He gave up his license in 2020 as a realtor, and he's retired and plays soccer and kind of, does whatever he wants to do. I work because I need to be busy. And we went into COVID and we discovered I needed to be busy. The 2 of us, we live in a nice, beautiful, spacious 2-bedroom condo in a great location. But during COVID, we discovered that maybe we might need a little bit more space if we were both going to be home all the time. So I do need to be busy, and hence I still work, but I also take off way more time. Last year, I took off 14 weeks, not all at once, but throughout the year. And, it's just nice to be able to go away and know that everything is fine, and I don't have to sweat where's the money coming from? But it didn't mean that I stopped doing real estate or transactions or any of that. I'm still a realtor because I love to go out, look at property, help people reach their goals and do what they want to do, what their goals are, and use real estate as the tool to help them. We looked at things. We'd always been given other opportunities to build, and we got nervous. We had this 145 unit project on the go when the neighborhood started to kick up a fuss, and the city decided to knock us from 12 stories, which is originally what we were going to do, 2 12-story towers to now 2 6-story towers. And the city started listening to the neighbors. They were very organized and were causing a lot of stress. And Rick and I looked at it and went, you know what? We don't want this kind of stress in our life. So we flipped the project out to another developer at that point in time. And then from there, the interest rates started to rise. If we had been in further, longer into that build is still not completed because they have run into endless problems with supply chain issues through COVID, with labor issues, with all sorts of things, rising costs, rising interest rates. And so I was very thankful that we were just lucky to have gotten out at that point in time. But it also made us look at, okay, where now is the money going to be made, or where can we make money without taking those huge risks and yet still be involved in multifamily? And so what we ended up doing is we had a good eye for where the path of development was, and we had time on our side. We didn't urgently need money. We could deploy money, and if we had to sit on a lot or something for 3 or 4 years, we could afford to do that. So, for example, half a duplex came out, and it was in a perfect location, but it was half a duplex. But we bought the half duplex. Then the house on the other side came up. We had a friend buy that lot, and then we decided to wait for the other half a duplex to come up, and we thought it might take 3 years before they would sell, and it took 8 months, and it hit the market. We were actually coming back from a Panama cruise when we got the phone call from my son going, "Hey, there's a half duplex that's come up, and I think you'd be interested." And we're like, "Why would you say that?" And they said, and my son said, "Because it's the one right next to yours. It's the one you want." We're like, "Write the offer, send it down now. We'll sign it. Unconditional. We just want it." And so we took the 2 half duplexes. We took the house next to it. We rezoned it. And then we put it out to flipped it out to a developer as rezoned land. But we didn't have to take the risk of building. Oh, here's Rick, who's finally made it home. Say hello to everybody. There you go. Okay. Anyway, so we did that. It's now in process of being built on. There's a 12-story tower going on that site, but we came out without taking on the risk, without having to take investors' money, other than our friend that bought the one house next door. We pretty much came out with very similar profit without the risk and without the stress, and in a lot shorter time. So we've bought other sites that we have done that with. We've got one actually that we didn't even rezone. And it came to us, it closes in February. It came to us because the person who had bought these 2 lots with the idea of doing something got caught in a interest rate hike from the time they offered until they were going to close, and they couldn't close. And the deal came to us, and we were able to pick it up at their existing, they just wanted out for what they had in. So they didn't even do a bump on the price. We just took over their existing contract, closed on it, and then a year and rented out. It had 2 houses, rented it out, and now a developer has bought it, and we didn't even have to rezone. And we made our profit percentage that we looked at. And, so that's more where we have been now, just because we're small-time developers, and it's hard to make the numbers work to build apartment buildings. We certainly are not saying that we will never build apartment buildings again. It's just for us right now in this climate of inflation, interest rates, all of that sort of things, the costs of the land, we just can't make the numbers work in our community. So we'll just ride it out, and you find other things to do in the meantime, which is we're just buying sites in the path of development and sell them to developers that do feel they have the funds and are willing to take the risk. So that is sort of overall our story and where we're going now. But I would like to take a few minutes before we take questions. Is that me? Is that you? There's a buzz.
Oh, that might be me. I wasn't sure what you're going to do, so I unmuted my mic.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So anyway, I just wanted to tell a couple of things based on today's climate, and because I work a lot with investors, what I've been seeing, right? And so there's just 2 tips for anybody who's going to want to get into doing projects, joint venture, where you're raising a lot of money from other people. There's a couple of tips I'd like to talk about. One is never take on too many projects at the same time. That will kill you, and you have to find way more money. It's like, do it strategically, where you've raised the money, you're doing this, you're you can pay your investors back. You know that they're going to do it. You're the one who has to sleep at night. Like, I don't want to sleep at night feeling that my investors aren't getting their money back. I could not sleep at night. That's a personal thing. So and then you strategically know when this one is going to be done, when you need to then look at buying or tying up the property of where you're
Hey,
going to.
I was gonna say, I believe I remember a story where Rick literally couldn't sleep and wanted to give all the money back.
Yes, that is right. So, yeah, and he was like, we just need to give all the money back. And we actually did have one project where we had raised money, and then the city, again, a different municipality, changed their mind on what we were going to be allowed to build. And we thought, doesn't make it viable. And we paid everybody's capital back and said, we're sorry, but this project isn't going to fly. Here's your money. We're not going to tie this up trying to figure it out. We'll just pay it back now and kill it. So it was done, like, from the time we raised the money till we paid it back was like 3 months. And we just gave everybody their money back so they could deploy it, because we knew it wasn't viable. But so you just don't have too many projects on the go. I've seen things where it's like, oh, they've raised money, they've got this project, then they've got that project, then they've got this project, and they've got 5 projects and not one of them is completed. And it's like, you know, do you know how many people you have to have investing in stuff like that? Like, and then you've got to manage it and everything else. Like, I just think that's crazy. It's like, if you take the time to do the project, you do it well, your people are getting their money back, plus what you said, when you said, they will be so happy to turn around and reinvest with you. And that means that you don't have to run around and find that money all over again. Yes, you still have to find some, but it's not the same. It's not the same amount of work. And then you do it again, and you do it again, and you just keep moving that money. It's far easier than just having all these projects out and people are still like, well, but what about this? This isn't done. That isn't done. You drive by sites and nothing's happening. You've had my money for a year. What's going on? So that's my first tip that I would say is, do not have too many projects on the go. Complete. Pay your investors back what you said you would pay them back and when you said you would pay them back. Has to be a priority. If that means that you have to sacrifice a little bit on your end, so be it. But those investors are gold if you ever want them to come back to you. And then the second thing that I was going to tell you is, it's an easy trap to get into, and why I think so many people get too many projects on the go that it snowballs on them, is because when you are raising money and there's a lot of money out there, people, even, you have a cap. I'm raising 2.5 million or whatever it is. And when you get 2.5 million, you're done. You don't need any more. Because if you keep taking money, you have to pay those investors something. And then if they are throwing the money at you so rapidly, you now have to find the project that can pay them what they're expecting you to pay. And now the pressure becomes you're finding projects. And so then you start looking at things differently because you're on a timeline to get this thing under wraps, right? You got so many people who are going, here's $100,000, here's $250,000, here's, and they're throwing money at you, and people then think they have to take it. No, you don't. It's better to wait for you to find the deal that will work. You can do, the numbers work. It's better to wait for that deal to come than to have a bunch of money and be trying to figure out what deal you can put the money into. So it's don't be persuaded by the willingness of people to throw money at you and you think, oh, that's a nice problem to have. Yes, it just gives you a little bit of a different challenge. Do not feel that you have to take everybody's money. In fact, sometimes if you're too eager to take everybody's money, but then if you have a slip up or whatever, they're not as forgiving. But if they know that you're not going to just take their money because they're putting it in your face, sometimes it's like when you do find a deal and you do want to find money or find money to do that project, it can be raised in like a week because you already know who you can call. And if they have money, they're going to give it to you, right? So do not believe that, you'll never find the money for the deal. No, you find the deal, you'll find the money. The money will find you. So those are my tips for the day or the week or the year, however you want to look at it. But anyway, if you have some questions, I'm happy to take questions for the last few minutes.
Absolutely. We'll open it up. I just want to say a statement before the questions, though, but I really like that last tip that you said, because, we're in this business. We hear what's going on, and not going to name names, but there's been several situations where the media has been featuring a lot of investors that we also know that is suddenly now going through situations of bankruptcy and being burned. Yeah. I think a lot of that is exactly what you said. They're just taking money. They don't have projects. Now they got to start paying returns on that money. So they're raising money to then pay returns on that money. It's
like a Ponzi scheme in a way, right? And then your carrying costs eat up your profit. And it's like, there's no money in this thing. Nobody wins. Nobody wins.
Absolutely. We'll open it up. Is there any questions? And again, if you guys are watching on YouTube as well, feel free to drop it in the comments and Cheri will read it out to me. But is there any questions from the crowd today? Kelly, of course. Yep. No, go ahead. Say it.
Okay, so with your first deal, Cheri, can you walk us through a little bit of the numbers? So how much you said, I think the land was $440,000 and you built a 20-unit building, was it?
Yeah.
And so how much money did you have to raise? How many people was it? Like how much per person?
Yeah.
And then was it the rest of it fully financed with construction financing?
Okay. So basically, we set up an LP structure and we did it by offering memorandum just to BC family and friends and a few people, but we didn't do a prospectus. And of course, rules have changed all the way along. Every time we did a deal, the rules changed with the Securities Commission. But basically, the minimum on the first building was $25,000 is what we were looking for. We had a total of 18 investors, and we raised $900,000. No, sorry, we raised $700,000, but in reality, we should have raised $900,000. In retrospect, we should have raised $9, but we raised $700,000, and the rest was construction financing with a B lender. And so we were on a fixed cost contract. So the cost of the build was fixed. So all in, including land, hard costs, soft costs, and everything on that build was $6.5 million. Which by comparison to today, is really cheap. But and the second building, although it was only 10 units more, was $9 million, I think. Yeah, just over $9 million. So we had that construction mortgage, so the draws are there. But what happened for us is we didn't raise enough money, so when the first draw came in, we were kind of behind the 8 ball on some of our soft costs. So we were always a little bit behind. We kind of screwed up with how we did our GST. So when we got to the end of the building, we still owed some money to the builder because the construction mortgage wasn't enough to cover it off. We had to buy out our investors and we had to cover off our GST. So all in all, on that build, to be quite honest, we were about $900,000 short when we came to the end of that build. And we had to do some running around to get all that covered and squared off. Fortunately, before we had secured the land for the second build, but we hadn't actually started it. So it took a little bit of doing, but we finally we had to get one mortgage conventional mortgage to take out the construction loan. And it wasn't the greatest one. We had to wait another 9 months so that they could see a little bit more of the history of the operation of the building and how the income was going. And then we got a much better deal, and we could dig ourselves out of the hole.
Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But you learn from that. You never do that again. Yeah. It's sort of like Debbie was saying, you never are going to look at your insurance policy the same way, right? You learn. And it was the same way when you did this. We looked at it and thought, yeah. And it didn't matter when or what you do, you're always going to learn something. There's always something different, right? So I had a first the other day, just really quickly. That has nothing to do with apartment buildings, but has to do with the rental condo I have. I got a call from the property management firm of the building. I manage the unit itself, but the property management company of the building called me and said, "Hi, it's not a call that I like to make, but I need to have your permission to give your contact information to the Victoria Police Department should they require it." I'm like, "Oh, what happened?" And they said, well, they were called to a domestic incident previous night, and they had concerns over one of our tenants in the unit. So someone had called 911, and we don't know details because of privacy, but that was a first for me. Oh, I have to give my information to the police. Yeah. But they haven't called me yet, so it couldn't have gone too far, I don't think. Hard to say.
But it just goes to show, no matter what level of an investor you're at, tales from the trenches always happen.
Yes, and you vet them as a tenant. You get all the references. Everything's great. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that was a first. So
Awesome. Any other questions? No? All right. Okay. I think we are good to go. Well, Cheri, I appreciate you again coming out.
Hey, well, thanks for having me. I can talk forever. So
Yeah, well, we'll definitely have some time to catch up to ourselves in a month or so here. So we'll see you in the Toronto area. And,
you will not actually see me.
There's-
Matthew and Jocelyn, I'm sending them. I'm
Yeah.
in Hawaii.
Wow. Okay. Fine.
Yeah. Sorry.
Fine. Then you know what? We'll say some angry words later about that.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Cheri. We really
Okay.
appreciate it coming out tonight and joining us. And we'll see you when I see you.
Yes. Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Cam. Hi.
Take care.
Hi, Kelly.
All right. Move that over and get our slides back up. There we go. Okay, and we're going to wrap up the night now for you guys. So we're going to wrap things up with a hot deal. Now, this is literally fresh off the press, hot off the press, as they say, because Kelly and I happened to be coming in from downtown today, and we decided to go to a VIP preview, a launch for a new project, and we thought prices on this are pretty dang good, so we thought we'd bring it to you guys tonight. So this is 2 Shaughnessy. That's right on Shaughnessy Street in downtown Port Coquitlam. It is a 6-story building with 39 personalized residents, and it's a very unique building. But what's more than that, what's kind of nice about it is the pricing. Right now in the downtown Poco, most developments are selling for over $900 a square foot, up to $925 in some cases. They're starting their prices under $900, in and around the $880. The final prices are going to come out soon, but the prices on these are going to be very attractive, specifically for investors, I would say, because you're getting them under traditional market. But there's some unique things about this building too that kind of stood out, and we're going to highlight them here. First and foremost, it's not often you get to actually customize your space. In most situations, when we're selling pre-sales, you're getting a light and a dark option. That's your amount of customization. In this, they've actually given 3 different color options for your kitchen, 3 different color options for your floors, and 3 different color options for your bathroom, along with 3 different color options for the ceiling of your bathroom as well. So you can actually go through and say, I want kitchen 1, bathroom 2, flooring 3. So you can actually mix and match them. So very unique. So you can actually really personalize the condo that you're purchasing and make it your own, right? Make it your own style. And also their parking system is it's nothing like I've ever seen before. It's Technology obviously coming out of areas like Japan, where they're actually having stacked cars. So basically you're going to drive in and they've got a like 44 stackable car elevator system. I don't really, it's new to me. I don't even know how to describe it. But basically you drive in, walk out of your car, and it's going to like lower it and tuck it off to the side so then they can bring another one up. So this is an interesting thing because the site it's on, I actually walk past it. I live in downtown Poco, so I've been seeing it. It's not a huge site. So this is a solution for some of these smaller sites because with a lot of developments, the amount of units that they can actually put on a site is dependent on how much parking they can provide. So with these smaller sites there, if you're doing traditional parking, one level parking, you're going to be limited. They probably could only do maybe a 20 unit building or something. So this is new technology coming. They've already done it in one Shaughnessy. So they've already proven the model with the first building. This is the second building coming in for this. And it allows them to build more, increase the density, which most cities are wanting in the downtown cores. And yeah, so very different system there. Studios are starting at $399.9 and one bedrooms. They're actually, he told us they're going to be probably in the mid fours. Again, the marketing says high fives. I think that's an error. It should be high fours. Anyways, the pricing's actually really, really attractive. We were taking a look at it. It is 15% deposit, so it's 10% within your ROR and 5% either within 30 days or when they get their building permit. So 15% total, an estimated completion of 2026. This is the location of the building here. So if you're familiar at all with downtown Port Coquitlam, two Shaughnessy's right here, one Shaughnessy right off Atkins Avenue in Kelly. You've got the Port Coquitlam Community Center that's right here. This is Shaughnessy Street. Our office is just like literally a 5-minute drive away. So you can come by, check us out at our office and we can take you to the site, everything like that. This is going to be going into sales pretty soon. They submitted off the disclosure with some revisions off to the lawyers, they said today. And so they're hoping that they'll get that back within a day or so. And then they're going to start with obviously their VIP realtors, which we'll be able to have access to that. If anyone's interested in a unit, we can definitely secure one for you guys. And then obviously from there, it'll go to public launch after that. So that is your hot deal for the month. Again, super hot off the press because Kelly and I literally just went there at 1 o'clock today. So then I come back and I tell poor Jury, quickly make the slides on this. And he's got a on top of all the other stuff the poor guy's doing. So we're going to wrap up. Flip out your phones. We've got some QR codes coming up. First and foremost is if you want to follow us on our social media, hopefully you've been tagging us. You can check all of our social media links there. Of course, we're on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and YouTube, everything like that. So we'll pause for a second. I saw some phones come out. And of course, I do ask if you guys have been enjoying this, help me out as well and help me with my YouTube channel. I have a goal to get it to 1,000 subscribers. We're just over 500 right now. And of course, this is the best way that you can actually go back and watch all the content. So if you've been watching it online, you can watch the replay, but all of you guys can go and check it out in the live tab, especially if you want to go back and say, what did Debbie say about the type of insurance that I should be getting or anything to that effect? How did Cheri buy that first property? So that's where you can go. We've actually got all of our past episodes on as well. So you can go back, watch other previous IPG meetings, and of course, share them with anyone that you feel would get good value from the content as well. And then again, we do have our private investors group community on Facebook. So this is where you get more information about events coming up. We post articles in there once in a while. When I can, I jump in, do live updates on what's happening in the market. So again, feel free to join that. You can find it on facebook.com/group/investors performance group, or of course, scan that QR code. And one of the last QR codes, I think there's one more after this. We have an event coming up on Sunday, and we would like to invite everyone here to come out to it if you guys can make it. We're going to be going down to the Yaletown Brewing Company right on Mainland Street, and we're just going to have a great time. So it's going to be from 2 to 5 p.m. We're going to have food. We're going to have appetizers. We've got lots of different raffles and prizes and draws. We've got some amazing sponsors that have helped us out with this. You can see some of them there. Garton and Harris Lawyers. We've got Fawcett Insurance. So you can go and talk to Fawcett Insurance, maybe see what info you can get from them. We've got, what's that? Oh yeah. Yeah, they're insurance brokers, but they do a lot of work with the REAG community, so they're very heavy with the investors. So Of course, we've got Green Mortgage Team, TGL Chartered Accountants. We've got Silver Spine Contractors. We've got Thunder Clean, which is a cleaning company that we use a lot. And of course, a representative from TD and a property manager coming out as well. So we've got a lot of sponsors. This is really incredible that everyone was willing to come together on this one. So we hope to see you out on Sunday. And again, our next event is going to be on September 19th. You can also join us on meetup.com if you don't want to do the Facebook group, but that's where we also post so you get notified of the events. And that is basically it. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out tonight. And thank you to everyone who's been watching on YouTube as well. Again, if you're watching it, you're new, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys on the next one. You can go ahead and end the stream.